Okay. Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm substituting as the chair tonight. I'm the vice chair or chair of vice, one of the two. Basically, the meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. Both adequate and electronic notice of this meeting has been provided by way of publication in the Hunterdon County Democrat and Courier News newspapers on or about February 1, 2024 and January 30, 2024. In addition, notice of the meeting was posted at the Borough of Flemington Municipal Building located at 38 Park Avenue, and any handicapped accessible entrances thereto posted on the municipal website, provided to the municipal clerk and distributed to all persons, if any, requesting copies of same. The meeting is being recorded with both audio and video and may be rebroadcast. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to the issues that are relevant to the board, to what the board may need to consider in reaching decision, and to an appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. Everybody, welcome aboard. I think we need to have a flag salute.
Yes,
Pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do the roll call, please.
Mayor Carroll. Here. Councilwoman Pissarro. Here. Mr. Campion.
Here.
Ms. Giffen is excused. Mr. Hill.
Here.
Mr. Dashna.
Here.
Mr. Cook.
Here.
Ms. Weitzman.
Here.
Mr. Semino.
Here.
Ms. Swingle. Here. Mr. Eckel.
Here.
Mr. Show.
Here.
Ms. Kaczynski is excused. Mr. Galina.
Here.
Mr. Clerico.
Here.
And Ms. McManus and Mr. Troutman are both excused.
Okay, under item 1 was the amount of public that we've got out there. If there are any comments, we would appreciate taking them right now.
And I don't see any other attendees on the line.
Right. And anybody online that's public that would like care to make a comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to number 2, the mayor.
Just one, in executive session last night, there was a conversation about one of the redevelopment projects, and there may be the need for a special meeting next week. There's some emergent things happening, and Planner McManus is not available Monday, and of course, Thursday is a federal holiday. So I would like, Chair, if we can poll the board to see if we can get a quorum together, and what date would work for people to have a special meeting, notice as an executive session, to talk about contract issues.
Okay, would this be something that we need to have a public notice of at the same time?
48 hours notice is required.
Okay,
And the clerk was going to do that, right?
Yeah, the clerk of the borough will do it.
okay.
So
We just need to.
it could be it could be during the day, it could be in the evening.
Not Monday or so.
Monday, Beth is not available at all, unfortunately. And she is critical. The one critical person, and so is Kara, but and Beth is going to be having a conversation with Kara on Monday.
Okay, so what day would you suggest that on your schedule?
Well, Wednesday night we have the fireworks, so maybe late afternoon Wednesday, maybe 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon the 3rd. I don't know if that's doable for people.
Is it a joint meeting or is it
No,
just a planning?
Just plain,
Planning board executive session.
correct.
Okay.
Or the 2nd at like 3 or 4 o'clock or even
I'm not
5
available
o'clock.
on the 2nd.
Not that.
Okay.
Can the clerk cover this meeting? Because
I don't know if she can
Yeah.
cover it or not. She might be able to on the 2nd, but Mr. Dosh is unavailable. What about, see, the fireworks start at 9. And like I said, we did 4 on Thursday. We also have Friday all day. You know, in the late afternoon, 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock on Friday. But it sounds like maybe
course, so it'd be
So, yeah, so how does Wednesday look for people like late afternoon or early mid-afternoon? Can we get a quorum?
Yeah, I could call it. I'm away next week, but I could call it.
Okay,
okay. Anybody online? Do you have a particular, that'd be the third, right?
it could be, so far, Mr. Dawson, you can't do Tuesday. Even 5 o'clock? Is 5 PM would be out for you too? Jeff?
On what, on the second?
Yeah,
My mom's having surgery that day.
you're definitely out.
I'm out.
Okay, you are out. So, so anytime in the afternoon, after like 2:30, or even in the morning on Wednesday, the 3rd.
Any preferences from the people online?
I'll make myself available.
Okay,
I would prefer late afternoon on Wednesday. Oh, wait, hold on. Anytime on Wednesday. I'm off.
You're off, okay.
So I'm, yeah.
Dawn and Brian, you guys can make a,
I can try. How long do you expect the meeting to go?
Not even.
less than an hour.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, yeah, I can be flexible then. I'll try to keep the kids quiet, so.
Okay. Dawn and Brian, you can do it for an hour.
What time on Wednesday, after 4 or
They can let you out early, 3 o'clock.
3? I'm still at work.
How about 4?
4 I can do.
4. Dawn, how about 4 on Wednesday?
Marcia, what's this for?
I can't give you details right now. It's a special executive session to discuss the contract with one of the redevelopment projects.
All right, 4 o'clock, you said, on Wednesday?
Yes,
I'm driving home.
there's a call-in number. You won't be able to see the split screens though.
Yeah, then that's fine. I'll call in. That's fine. I could do that. That's absolutely fine. Yeah, that works. That works.
You're good, Todd. You're good, Jeff. You're good, Jim.
Yeah.
You're good, Adrian. So, hopefully Karen is good, and,
Dennis, does that work? for you?
Dennis, you said,
Yeah, I should be able to, I have something at work, but hopefully I can get it to end by 4.
Bob, I don't know if you might want to be here or be available.
I have at 4 o'clock on Wednesday. Yeah, I have a meeting, another meeting at 7 o'clock, but.
During our fireworks? Okay.
Not here.
During hours.
Does anybody sit on fire?
Nobody from Flemington, it's over at Township.
Yeah.
Melissa, you good? I can make it work. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna let Beth know. I'll let, you could do it too, right? I mean,
I don't know.
all right,
And if I could do it remotely, I could probably do that.
okay.
I think coming down here, I have work until 4, so.
At 4, I'll see if Carl is available.
Okay.
Or on Wednesday.
Would I have the option remote or here? Or?
Yeah, it'll be,
If someone can start the meeting here, then I should be able to do
Okay.
that.
All right,
Will she be back from vacation?
I don't think Karen.
Okay.
I don't think so.
But
I don't know.
I know how to start everything.
I think they're only gone for a week. But
Karen's like that. I'll be, I can get it started.
I will let Beth know.
All right, so 4 or 4 PM on the
Yeah.
3rd?
4 PM, 4 PM on the 3rd.
Okay.
Thank you so much. That's all I have.
Okay. That was enough.
It was enough, right?
Okay. Council?
Only thing that I think would be of importance is, we passed ordinance 2024-17 yesterday evening, which is a 4-way stop intersection at Broad and William, as well as 2 compact car parking spots at Broad, proximate to William. That's where the hill goes down, and you have a lot of accidents there. So that ties into some planning board activities where that drops out. And the other thing is just the 5 liquor license in the boroughs. Resolution 2024-12, we also asked for last night. That's it.
Anybody have any questions? Excuse me.
What was the liquor license?
That's the annual renewal.
Just of our 5.
Yeah, I'll have 3.
Oh, I thought you said 5.
There,
So which?
There's 3.
yeah,
It's the third.
Oh,
The other three, they're all, the other three. We have,
but they're spread over 5 locations.
no, there's the one that's owned by the Courthouse Square that's not in use. There's the
Okay,
one that's
that's
owned
okay.
by former Circle Diner, former TGIF,
Yeah.
that's not in use, and the central.
HPC, any comments?
At our meeting last week, there were no applications, so the only other status I have, the stats for the house tour, we sold 525 tickets. That was 9% more than last year, which is great, and we had over 600 attendees, including volunteers. So very successful tour again. The weather was perfect, and Todd was great as Charlie Todd.
Well, sounds like everybody had fun during that time. I appreciate your comment. Okay, professional reports. Anybody got anything to forward to us?
No.
Okay,
Melissa has an environmental.
We did go over the checklist. We had no changes. I know I had missed the last meeting, but I did want to bring it to them. And there was only one question regarding the checklist. It was more of a terminology than something actually about the checklist. What the difference is between an ESA, which was provided for Central Station, and the environmental impact statement.
is that a question you have for going forward?
That was the only thing for us.
There's also a special, the joint meeting of the planning board and Shade Tree Commission, I'm sorry, the environmental commission, the Shade Tree Commission plans the 8th of July to go over the checklist together, as well as to update the separate tree list from the planning board. And hopefully that will be there, and also the new draft tree ordinance for the state of New Jersey, 2 categories.
Okay.
So
So we'll take
that's open to
that
the public, and that's, will be on.
and we can bring any answers back to the next meeting. Excuse me. Okay.
You weren't looking for an answer from Bob on that, the difference between the ESA and then.
When we hold after the discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah. The approval for the minutes, excuse me, approval of minutes from the June 11th meeting. Everybody had a chance to read them through. Any questions? I would request that we take a vote on approval for the minutes. Is a second?
Yeah, everybody at the dance is not here, so someone online.
Online?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Carroll,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sorrow, say, Mr. Campion,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Dashner, Mr. Cook, Ms. Whiteson,
Yes.
Mr. Semino,
Yes.
Ms. Swingle.
We're up to number 7, the resolution for Central Station. Did everybody get their final copy of it? I believe it was today.
There was a final, and then it was
Final. Based upon the final. Any questions from anybody on the board?
I'll move it.
Need a second?
We have the council for the application.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Theodore Carroll. I'm an attorney here in Flemington with the Grunberg Law Office. Here on behalf of the applicant Central Station LLC. My only comment at this time is that our office has had the opportunity to review the most recent version of the resolution, which incorporates the clarifications and revisions made by the board planner and the board engineer. And we find those revisions acceptable and have no further comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I second.
Okay.
I'm sorry, who was the first?
Okay.
Thank you.
Take a vote.
Mr. Dashner,
Yes.
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Ms. Whiteson.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Maybe that's who
The Karen's not.
I think he's.
Yeah,
He's-
that's true.
Sure. Don't know what they said.
Okay, so approved.
Okay, very good, we've got that. Number 9 is the discussion for Fortsville Road Properties LLC.
Do you want to do the planning, you want to change the next thing,
Okay.
is the planning board checklist, but if you wanted to,
You wanna change, how
wanna
about I make
kind
a
of
motion that
allow-
we adjust the. agenda?
Rob and then
Do the
get out of
checklist
here.
next.
I'll second that.
Right, to switch 8 and 9.
Okay.
So as I'll just put on the record, since I've recused previously from Wardsville, I'm gonna step off the days for
However, Mr. Dockner has recused himself from this session.
however long it takes to have whatever. it is.
We'll call you on the phone. Okay, my understanding is that part of the issue that we have at Fortsville right now is that there's outstanding funds that are due for the board. And,
the continued continuation and extension.
right,
Yeah, and I have, my name is Robin Wright. I'm an attorney with the firm of Lands and Lands here in Flemington. I represent Woodville Road Properties. And Mr. Corbett here on behalf of the applicant. They are going to bring the outstanding escrow current, the amount that's currently owed, and they will make sure that the remaining escrow is paid up, the required to move forward before we try to move forward and start.
So it's currently in deficit by $8,500 and we owe that money directly. I mean, we have professionals that have already earned that money and are patiently waiting for it. Plus, just discussing that money and discussing this tonight adds more money to that. So when it is paid up, please try to make it at least $10,000 so we can stay current. And then make sure it gets replenished before you come back. So that is a big issue. You can't come back until it's replenished.
We understand that.
But we really want to pay our professionals.
We understand that the applicant has represented and he's going to bring it up to date.
How soon?
I was just gonna say, when, just, okay,
Thank you.
that sounds really good.
Thank you. That's appreciated.
We appreciate the response.
If you could just email me when that happens, because we always found in the borough.
Okay, then we'll bring it back to the Borough Hall.
All right.
Great up.
I think that's about the extent of what we can do tonight.
No, the other issue is what is going on? They can keep asking you.
Right, we have
July is
limited,
your 1-year anniversary.
leeway on
of completion, right? And you've had one public hearing so far.
Well, initially there was a delay because the condo association next door wanted significant revisions to the stormwater management plan for this property, which we did. We worked with the neighboring condo association and we made significant revisions. We were back here in January. The board wants assurance that this project is going to meet DOT standards. We initially applied for, I have a
DOT and DEP.
NDP, but primarily DOT. Initially, there was concern about the access to the road, and the board, even at the preliminary stage, wants some assurance that we're going to meet the DOT standards. We were initially told to apply for a driveway permit without pre-application meeting. After the DOT reviewed that application, it determined that a new road intersection permit is required to construct a new roadway. So a new application was prepared and submitted to the DOT. Eric anticipates that Eric Brutner, our engineer, is anticipating the review process will take a few months to complete. I did speak to the board attorney about this issue. I said, we keep asking for adjournments to other meetings. Should we just take it off the agenda with the understanding that we have to renotice at this point? And then after that discussion, I wrote the letter basically extending the board's time to make a decision to the end of the year with the understanding that we would renotice the application. But we asked to do that rather than coming back and keeping put on the agenda if we haven't gotten this DOT issue resolved. But we do want to and we don't know whether the DOT is going to require any changes, but before we make significant changes to plans based on Mr. Clarico's review letter and other comments by the board, we want to have the DOT's position.
What about the DEP?
Well, I think the primary issue at this stage was DOT. There's also an LOI that needs to be obtained, that's been applied for.
So there's been no preliminary meetings with the DEP regarding the wetlands?
I would have to ask Eric that. The focus primarily is on the DOT issue. You know, as opposed to the DEP, you know, we would ask if we don't have an LOI or whatever else we need from the DEP, we would ask that that be a condition of preliminary approval. But I can follow up with Eric and ask Eric the status of DEP.
Do you have the LOI in hand, or you still?
I don't have it in hand.
I think it's really critical that Eric have a preliminary conversation with DEP under these new stormwater rules.
Okay, and I will follow up with
And they are really, the rules are really wreaking havoc with pretty much every application in the borough of Flemington. So I would really urge you to have that conversation with them now while you're waiting for the DOT.
I'll follow up with
Or
Eric.
do it concurrently rather than linearly.
I understand. I will follow up with them and we'll follow up on that. And so, you know, we're respectfully requesting, you know, an adjournment. The board wants to put it on another date, that's fine, but we don't anticipate the next meeting. You know, we think.
So you'll be off our monthly list.
Right, and then we would, you know, we would have to make, there are other issues with plans that need to be changed. And then we would, you know,
Reapply.
we would ask to be put back on the
All right.
for hearing. I mean,
That's the
it wouldn't be a reapplication, simply be a request to be, but, you know, be scheduled for a hearing.
Any questions from the board? Okay, we'll accept what you said and expect that the check will be coming very soon to cover everything.
Thank you.
Okay, planning board checklist. Have a copy of that again.
Yeah. Not telling us.
Well, the goal tonight is to have the planning board move it forward to the town council. Is that the goal?
That was my understanding.
Okay, so that's the goal. And that happens, the environmental commission and the street commission will take another look at it on the 8th. Beth is gonna make that meeting. She texted me, so she'll be there to explain things. Then we'll go to council. Council only has one meeting in July, which is the 15th, and then we'll come back here and then one meeting in August. So the 10th, it will work nicely.
Okay.
So basically, what's in the checklist right now is everything that we discussed at the last meeting that was necessary. And so we're quote satisfied with what is going forward, but it has to be.
We want to talk about the.
Yeah, well, I'll outline a few items I wasn't 100% sure on. One of them was on the applicability of the architectural plans, and I did discuss that with Beth, and she did give me a memo tonight telling me that there's a few items, it's a few types of applications, a few elements of that check item on the checklist, rather extensive, that she felt wasn't necessarily required. And if the board doesn't have any issues, I'll just take those out. When I did this, from the last version, you had the boxes that are highlighted are ones where Lindy and I from my office went through this, thinking about prior applications, thinking about the logic or necessity for some of the stuff. And if the box is unchecked, that means it was previously checked and we're recommending that it not be required. If the highlighted box is checked, that means it was previously not required, but recommending it would be required. So just from a somewhat practical review element, those are the yellow boxes on the under the various types of applications. As far as in that context, as far as the architectural plan, which I believe is the last item, yeah, it's on the last page, 6 or 7 of the checklist. There were several of those items, basically D through J, that Beth felt that it really wasn't required for a D variance. So if the board, I'll just uncheck those particular boxes if the board's okay with that. She said she felt the other ones, they should be all applicable. And she felt for the concept plan, as we had it here, just A and B was sufficient.
So even, see, I don't know, I mean, I'm recused from D variances, but I mean, they're use variances, and if somebody is bringing in trucks or some, you know, they're gonna be using it for that E. I
Well, a
think
D,
E
a D is
important.
very rarely unaccompanied by a site plan application, so. you
A
know,
D would, unaccompanied would really would just be use. So that's why Beth is saying things like building materials and building colors aren't necessarily related to the use.
But that floor plans and elevations are useful to.
But, so I can like, since it's already been passed by resolution, I can talk about it. The one with the daycare center over on this bottom of Maple Avenue, they're bringing in like some kind of bus system. Now that's like, you know, it's wide open and there's no traffic lanes, there's nothing there. So when you're like, to me, that's important. Is there enough? Not making it that site, just using it as an example, whether or not a small minibus can turn, whether or not there's proper lanes for safety for a small minibus transporting people. I mean, I think that stuff is important because it's part of the use that they're having transport.
But that's not, but what Beth is saying is the architectural plans, right?
Right.
But you're looking at 33
Right.
Oh,
D
just,
through J.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so
Got it.
I think it's more
plan,
aesthetics.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right, he's talking about architectural plans.
Only 33 on page 6 under a D variance.
Okay, yeah, I'm
right?
looking on page 5.
And she is recommending that we go from C down to J and not require it. Is that what you said?
But basically for a D variance, she's suggesting that just A, B, and C be.
A, B, and C.
And that's a standalone D variance. So obviously, if it's a
Right.
site
Then,
plan.
yeah, there's, obviously could always be overlap. That's,
Right,
like you're trying to cover all your bases.
right. But a site plan with D variance obviously needs all of that. That makes sense.
Yes, there's always the possibility to have an application that only falls in one of the boxes. Rare, but it's possible.
Okay, don't get rid of the ones on page, that are on page 5.
Leave those alone?
Yeah, because
Okay. Do we need to make those alterations before these get passed out to the council?
The other one was the non-conforming use certificate. As I said in my email, there wasn't a lot of discussion on that. There's a number of things that are required that come with the application, but as far as the plan is concerned, we're not requiring any plans for a use certificate. The only thing I might suggest is that we get a survey of the existing conditions. That might be helpful, especially if you rule on the use that, okay, what's here today is acceptable.
You're
You should have a
nailing
document.
down what's on the ground.
You have a document in your file that says what is there. So, I mean, but again, there really wasn't, that on my recollection, or our notes, there really wasn't a lot of discussion on it.
So that in 50 years, when someone else comes back, we at least have something to look at.
There's something in the record. But normally something like that wouldn't have a plan associated with it, because they're not proposing anything. They're trying to get confirmation of what is there meets whatever prior approvals were granted or whatever. So,
And Bob, where would that be on non-conforming use? What page?
well, the non-conforming is just what we call the certificate, the non-conforming certificate, the second column.
I see that.
And if you go to the what I call the second part of this, the numbered items, starting on page 3, we're not required, there's nothing being required for that until you get to item 12, which is the survey.
Oh, you already have it yellow.
Oh, yeah, I'm just.
Oh,
pointing
I'm
out
sorry.
that's the only one we have because there wasn't a lot of discussion about it. I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that's all.
Makes sense.
So this should still go forward to the various other boards then.
Whatever your protocol and procedure is, I'm essentially done with this. If you're okay with the highlighted boxes, I'll unhighlight them. That was just more to bring it to your attention. And the rest of this, like I said, there was a lot of discussion at the last meeting about the second part of this, the what goes on plan. we did what we think is exactly what you're looking for. You can read what's here. I think it reads correctly. And what was that comment from the environmental commission? I didn't quite understand it.
One of our members had a question, what the difference was between an environmental impact statement and the document that had been provided, excuse me, for the central station application that was labeled an ESA. It was quite a very large document that was provided.
It was for environmental purposes. They did a general assessment of the property. What you should be referring to, whatever our ordinance, however we refer to it in our ordinance is how we should refer to it. Here, I think in that situation, we accepted that document as being adequate for, maybe even exceeding our requirements. If we refer in our ordinance to environmental impacts, that's what the checklist should say.
Yeah, I was gonna say that probably what should be going forward is that anything that's submitted is an EIS, it's not a different set of.
Well,
conditions.
no, and somebody could submit something like that that's maybe more extensive than an environmental impact statement, and you may accept that. And what they call it is somewhat immaterial. If they're presenting a document that says, here, we're presenting this to comply with your requirements for environmental impact, you review that and say, yeah, well, yeah, that's good enough, or that's more than we need, or whatever.
We don't want somebody taking a picture of the site and drawing on it with crayon and calling it environmental impact statement.
Well, you have to understand that your ordinance. Your ordinance said what.
Exactly.
What type,
That's what's supposed to be.
but the ordinance says what types of applications require environmental impact statement. The checklist is only saying, you know, if it's applicable, then you need to provide it
Okay,
as part of site plan.
understood. So now that we've had that discussion,
Yeah, my question is for Jeff and Todd. You know, we had really long meetings about this and you guys weren't able to make it,
I read the minutes.
Yeah.
but you're good, you have nothing, like.
I looked through all this and I think it's capturing what we needed to do. I didn't have anything else there's nothing seems to be missing from stuff that we bumped into for the last several years. And obviously we want to do this right the first time. We want to get it to the governing body and make all the ordinance changes and be done with it. I understand.
So what, I think it was Kara who recommended that we make sure that the ordinance basically reflects an attached checklist. So it's the checklist that always gets changed, not the ordinance.
Which would be nice and easy to do, which is unlike how we. So, as long as Kara's, as long as that legally is kosher, then yeah, that was.
It was correct, yeah. So.
And I think you pointed, there's other elements, like we changed the number of copies that are required, there's other provisions of our ordinance that say how many copies. So you have some conflicting.
Right.
Well, no, there's gonna have, obviously, things like the number of copies and who's on it and digital submissions, those things will have to change.
Yeah.
Certain sections of land development, which makes sense. But if the checklist section, 16, whatever it is, says see attachment, I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, don't lose sight of the fact too that when an applicant comes in, even if it's not a checklist requirement, the board feels that something is really required,
Yeah,
you could require. And by the same token, if you feel it's not applicable, you know, the applicant requests and you grant a waiver for it.
There was one question I had here, Bob, actually, thank you, Mayor, for asking, was the stuff that we have, I guess it's, so I wasn't here when we were talking about the blue pages, the number of pages, on page, I guess it's on, starts on the bottom of 4, we start getting into the soils, water, landscaping, erosion, all that kind of stuff. I just want to make sure that given the ever-changing nature of stormwater regs, right? I want to make sure, I would just want to make sure you're comfortable with how this is written here and what we're proposing gets changed in the ordinance is evergreen, that we're not going to have to come back and change anything here. Like there's enough language here that's vague enough about compliance with X, Y, and Z to be able to review. Like I just don't want us to be in a position where like in 5 years, we're when the stormwater rates change again.
5 years? 5 months?
Okay, 5 months. You know.
Well, the only reference, I mean, there's only one reference here on 23 to
Yeah.
the DEP manual,
Right.
chapter 12.
Right. So
DEP changed the manual, I suppose.
right. Well, so what I'm like, you're comfortable with the fact that we're referencing a particular document in a particular section of that
Well,
document.
that's
We don't
our
know.
obligation under our stormwater. So,
Right, but if that were to change, like if they were to change the book, if they were to change the chapter, it wouldn't be terribly too burdensome for us to change the chapter,
I think
right?
that's highly unlikely they'll change the chapter, but I mean, this is a generic, not to any specific, the rules that are in effect.
Right, that's how I read it, I wanted to make sure.
In other words, we're gonna go with whatever reg is in place at the
I
time.
think that almost kind of goes without saying.
Well, no, we have to follow the regs that are in place at
Yeah.
the time. I don't want us to be in a situation where somebody who's trying to like pull a fast one says, well, your checklist didn't require this, even though DEP absolutely requires whatever tests, documentation, whatever.
As we just said, going down the road, the regulations could change, there could be other stuff that's required. You can go nuts.
No, and I don't want
No matter how much you look at it and think of situations, something's gonna occur where you're gonna say, well, we need this. And like I said, if you need it, you need it, whether it's on the checklist or not.
We're only talking about completeness.
Right.
Yes.
and obviously, we reserve the right as always to ask for more.
Right.
When it comes to the hearing, it's more of,
You want to know,
because stormwater stuff is complicated, because it takes so long for your office to review it. Because we've absolutely run into situations where applicants have had to change stormwater and really, like, based on an initial review from your office, really go back to the plans before it even gets complete, or we're deeming them incomplete, all that. Like, I just want to make sure that we're very clear on what needs to be
Or how about
provided.
this? How about under item 28, which says stormwater management plans and watershed maps? How about we put it in accordance with current regulations?
That
Here
would
you go.
that would do it.
yeah,
That's, oh,
Yeah, that would do it. Stormwater of late seems to be the issue where we keep bumping into the completeness waivers and timing and extensive review needed by your office. That if they gave you everything up front, would certainly make the review process go a lot better, which is why I want to grab as much of this.
Yeah, but also the other thing is when we review something, we try not to get too far down in the weeds as to, what was given to us. I mean, generically, this is a stormwater report. It seems to check off all the boxes. We say, we got, when we get into reviewing it, we might find errors or omissions or issues.
But I'm remembering a recent application on it, which one it was, where a number of times where we were going through completeness and you're like, well, they're gonna have to show how they're gonna handle this. They're gonna have to show, and then it became a lot of back and forth revisions, where if they had just shown how they were gonna handle it up front, it would have been easy.
Trust me, you're not gonna solve that. I'm not gonna cure that.
Like I said, stormwater is the one that just seems to be the right now where we're having.
It's definitely, it's more than half the effort of reviewing any, from an engineering standpoint, is 3/4 of the effort of reviewing site. Or land development.
And Bob, on this chart, on the definitions of that first column, informal review concept plan. Can you define that for me?
I think that's referenced in your ordinance. Basically, if somebody wants to come in and non-binding talk to you about, I have this property, I have I want to do a development, and in the past, sometimes you would form a subcommittee.
right.
So I believe it's covered in your application. You have an application.
So that's right. That's what I had thought, but that's one of the biggest changes on this, the folks that come in for an informal, that they're going to have to do
Something.
well, it's more than something when you get into like item 24 on the 100-year flood boundary plan.
Well, that's published information. Somebody comes in and talk about a piece of property, you want to know if it's in a floodplain or isn't.
But again, I just wanted to make sure, because the informals, right, we're not talking about, they can't, if it's a D variance, they can't come in for an informal. So the informals that we've had heretofore have been more of a layperson question. Hey, I'm thinking about doing this, because they have no idea how to proceed. That's why so this is really saying an informal. Again, I don't want to, when I look at this, if I'm thinking of some of the informals we've had in the past, hey, I'm thinking about buying a building and I want to do this to it. Well, you better have an attorney, because you're going to have the grading plan, your elevations, soil, under your flood boundary. It's a lot for an informal, that's all.
Here's another way to look at it. If somebody's gonna come in and talk to you about what they want to do with a property, you want them to have thought through
Okay,
what some of the regulations are and stuff first, rather than just come in here and say, hey, guys, what do you think?
So if it's if it's an LLC, they have to be represented by counsel under law regardless. So they're gonna, an attorney's gonna be able to pull this stuff up pretty quick. That's not, what I'm not hearing you, your concern is like Joe and Jane have a question about where to put their shed, but it's more than just like.
And I don't think that's an informal. I think there's another of these.
There's no other.
there is no other, that's where I was talking about.
Informal's not actually code for completeness, so.
That's where I think,
Discuss it, comments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but again,
Nothing said is only on either the.
That's true.
absolutely, but they're not discussing a concept if without seven, I'm just looking at another one, 7 copies of published map delineating floodplains, FEMA hazard areas. So the person that comes in, hey, I want to put a shed up and I'm over the property line, I'm making something up.
Pretty sure we were asked, we could take it off. We don't have to have a checklist for the inform. You don't want to.
That was my only question, like to Mayor's point,
I'm
like,
pretty sure somewhere.
Again.
We just can pass.
right? No, I
Because
understand.
everybody has a sign on here, so take the sign off and put the concept on.
I know. and then-
We wanted them to walk in with something. We wanted them to post an escrow. We wanted them to, at least, if we were gonna have our professional spend 15 minutes on it, we wanted to have something more than nothing. Right? I mean, that was, we've had that before. We've had situations in the past couple of years where, like, you're doing a lot of work on an informal. We wanted them to like do something.
I'm also wondering if, for an informal, that they shouldn't be required to, produce a zoning denial first, so that we know going before anything, that we know if it includes a use variance, and then if it's an informal, we can't.
You know, if you're looking for a variance, usually they ask you to submit a letter of denial to show that you.
Not, I haven't always gotten those, and that's where it becomes, we wanna come in and then, Beth has to take a look at, or Bob has to take a look at, spend some time, which is charged now to the planning board budget. Whereas if they went to the zoning officer, that's really the first step, and he should do that.
They can just go right for the variance if they're.
Correct, but as informal, they can't go before the planning board as acting as the planning
If we
board.
go to the zoning, we have to go to something.
Well, what about like the house on Brown Street that, you wanted to put in that great big duplex on that little tiny lot? Would that have been,
Well, they came in for a use.
they came in for use variance, but would that have been a good place for them to come in for a formal and say, would you guys even entertain allowing?
Well, not going to
You
use.
can't,
that.
you can't have an informal for use.
Right, so that's not a great example, but
Not a good example.
I know, I'm trying to think of it.
So okay, so we had something, I mentioned this one, when we were talking about the checklist, we had somebody come in, because there was a fire and they're trying to rebuild a house. and-
Yes,
Right?
that was on Dewey or Academy.
Yeah, one of the cul-de-sacs, Dewey, I think. No.
I think it was Dewey also.
Yeah, like we had a conversation with them.
Right,
I don't remember if it was, I don't think it was a site plan application. I think they just kind of,
they were upset.
They did
they
kind
were
of,
upset.
well, yeah, they did go to the building
They
department,
were denied.
and they were denied because the porch, they wanted to add additional,
Right,
which would have violated the front yard setback.
right. So then,
So there was, that worked very well, because you said, put up the building as it is right now,
Or they
and then,
stayed.
we gave them some advice on how to
Right.
proceed so that they would be able.
and then
to-
ask for the porch later, so you can get your.
We have no idea.
We don't know if it is, so officially, and so, in that situation, are we asking too much on the checklist? is the question.
Clearly, again, you never had one before. We were asked to put it in. This is, I don't think we
I
discussed
think
that.
that's what you see, and
Right.
they ask for it before.
And you could always waive it.
But if it's not here, we can't ask
Yeah.
for it, so.
Sure. And if it is a developer who's coming from informal, who's represented by counsel,
Doing everything.
we want them to at least we want them to come ready, even if it's an informal. So maybe it is a question of letting the zoning officer know that for Jane and Joe, like, tell them they have the ability to ask for a waiver of checklist items.
As long as it doesn't include the use.
But and that might solve that. Yeah,
Yeah, again, it's, when you think back from a historical perspective, many of the informals that we have been, what did you say, like Jane and Joe?
Jane and Joe.
Jane coming in and saying, hi, we just moved here, we want to open up a blah, blah, blah. What do you all think? And I know I'm paraphrasing it to this overly simplified question, but that's what it's been. So, sure, if you have a developer coming in and say, yeah, I want to do X, Y, and Z, and I just want to have an informal, chances are they're not going to.
so, all right, so now we're talking this through. Do we want their first conversation to be in front of this board, or do we want their first conversation to be with the zoning officer and the building department? Right, so it may not be the worst idea to have, it'd be easier to go to the building department first for that conversation, where they can just talk. And then if
That's
they
Jane
get,
and Joe, that's not the developer.
yeah, the Jane and Joe type, right, the developer, whatever, but like, and then they would talk and say, and then the zoning officer would be able to say, hey, okay, what you're looking to do here is great, no problem. I just need some construction drawings. You don't have to go to the planning board. You're good. We don't even need to see them. Or, hey, you need some variance relief. You need some X, Y, and Z. You're gonna have to put some stuff together. Here's the application. Here's how to do it informal, and here's some of the stuff you can get a waiver on. But at least they've done. If we want to push applicants to that process, they talk to the building department and the zoning officer first. Having some of these things that are waivable would do that, I think.
Because the way the statute reads, this is a municipal land use law provides for informal. The states have to request of the developer, the planning board shall grant an informal review of a concept plan for development, for which the developer intends to prepare and submit an application for development. The amount of any fees for such an informal review shall be a credit card fees for review of the application. For development, the developer shall not be bound by any concept plan for which review is requested, and the planning board shall not be bound by any fee.
And so a concept plan is more involved than I got a question.
But on this, like Eileen just said, we really don't have, if somebody comes in and says, I have an informal question, you're gonna have to go to this conversation.
Maybe we need an informal discussion where somebody can just come in if they want to have 15 minutes of the board's time to talk about.
Right,
whatever.
and that, we've always had that, and that usually is 15 minutes of the board's time, no charges, no fees. But make sure that they don't include a use variance,
Well,
and that's the only way to do that.
Did they come in during public comment period? Is that how?
We actually put them on the agenda.
We're on the
Informal. They wanted to talk during public and I said, hold on, we got you on the agenda.
Yeah, let me know.
Because we knew they were coming in. But no, maybe that's the.
Yeah, that's the answer for the.
Yeah.
Jane and Joe, Joe, residents.
And then the zoning officer or the construction officer can say, you can come to the board for, if, this is just a bulk variance, come to the board.
So like I said, we want to have an intelligent discussion. Basic
Some kind of-
information.
But the statutory framework is, this is a developer with concept plan for discussion.
Which is a whole
Which
nother
is,
level.
which is more than just, hey, I got a quick question and I want to hear what you're thinking. Like, I think we can call it something different. It's not an informal review.
Informal or a
It's-
concept plan.
It's an informal question, it's informal discussion. It's just, we would have to make sure that our verbiage and anything that we have, that's where Eileen can steer an applicant to say, no, this is an informal review. You have an informal question.
So really, what you're saying is change what is in the first box on the left.
No, I'm
No,
saying,
no,
I'm saying.
You follow the
legal
other procedure.
Yes.
For what our attorney just read out of the municipal land use law, which is a developer coming in with a concept plan. He's got a full set of plans, he's got his professionals, and he wants an informal review. Yeah, that's what you
Okay.
need.
That's sort of just,
For the couple that wants to, I'm making something up, add baked goods to their garage. I don't know, whatever it is. I'm trying to think of a trivial example, but I don't wanna.
No, and I think and it doesn't have to go on the checklist.
Right, doesn't go on the checklist.
This could be, the board could adopt a policy that individual homeowners or others with limited questions that don't meet the criteria of informal concept plan under statute, but just want 15 minutes, the board can request that, but within whatever we can define what those parameters are. We can make that as our rules after we get this thing. right? And we can get this thing
Yes.
moving.
So we're not saying this, from an informal review concept plan as defined by the municipal land use law. I'm fine with what, how this reads. It was just, that was my only jar. I was just trying to go through when I was reading through this, is just old applications. What we have done different on this one, what we had to do different, and that's the only snap.
Everybody okay? Good discussion.
And one more question, and Bob, this does change, like, in our ordinance, the definition of a minor site plan, because we don't have just ways to come in for a variance. So many things default to a minor site.
This doesn't change any of definitions.
This doesn't change that.
If you want to change that definition, you can change it, and that definition talks about, it's pretty limited. It's, I think it's the openings in the building or 100 square foot addition to a building or nothing more than 200 square. You have, it's a very restricted.
Minor versus major is in the MLT. Right.
And but it's also in our ordinance.
It's also in our.
But the ordinance is only.
Okay.
Hopefully.
I would presume.
But yeah, this is just guiding somebody. They want to know what a major subdivision is or a major site plan, what, you go to the ordinance, define what that is.
There's almost nothing in town.
It's hard to get a minor.
I mean, because of things like parking and signage and use, even little things, quote unquote, little things, oftentimes end up triggering something else in town, just the nature of a built out development. Yeah. 100 and what plus year old.
Any heavy discussion from the people online? Or are you satisfied with what you're hearing?
I'm satisfied with, what we discussed and what we discussed in the last meetings. So yeah, I'm at peace with it.
Because it's
Here.
we're supposed to be sending this forward to council. Or not?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a recommendation. It's supposed to go to council.
Right, I haven't seen, I had put it on the agenda as a resolution to send to council, but I guess maybe it should have been discussion. I don't have anything from Kara regarding that referral, so I don't know
We've
exactly.
had the discussion, so we can, next meeting. if
Well,
we have to-
Yeah, we can put it on next meetings
As a
to,
res-
again, as a resolution.
Does it
I
need to
guess.
be by resolution?
Yeah.
I don't know, it could just be a letter of recommendation to,
I mean,
it's a legal
Can
question that I.
Can we vote on that tonight to send it up? there?
Right, and does that capture both the environmental and shade trees looking at it, which.
They're gonna look at it.
They're gonna look at it after.
With Beth. And the environmental commission actually looked at it already.
Right,
In absence of this conversation, the Shade Tree Commission, that joint meeting, it's really because of the other two things, but we figured we'd share this with them at the same time. So, in absence of any other comments, I mean, the governing body could accept this with, like, let's say Shade Tree wanted something else on there. And they could offer it up and the council could say, we accept this, but we like
the following.
with this one addition, but
Yeah, but,
counted
yeah,
dead
I
by
mean, we're
trees.
making a reference, we're making a suggestion to the governing body to change the ordinances. So essentially, they have to do so on first reading, whatever that is. Then it goes out for comment, including to us.
Right.
Right, and then.
I honestly think the governing body will accept this as it is. But if Shade Tree, like if Shade Tree says, we really like a count of dead and dying trees or caliper of trees, how many trees there are with a greater than X number caliper on it. I'm just saying, Bob,
Yeah, no,
I mean, they might say so, like, who knows, right?
Yeah.
And the council may
So
say,
they're an advisory agency, so you want, they
Right.
feel they need to see something.
So, if the liaison from Shade Tree brings that back to the council, the council goes, yeah, we agree, we're all buying into this tree thing because they're sucking up 50 gallons of water a day each. So we'll see, right?
And then it would still come back to planning board.
It'll still come
It'll
out
still come back.
regardless,
Still
it'll
come
come
back.
back to planning board.
With those, whatever revisions are in.
Right.
Even if there's no revision, it has to come back to planning
Right,
board.
exactly.
So based on that back and forth, so does this have to be by resolution, or can it just be a vote to send to recommendations to council?
Consider resolution that you're gonna send to the council for.
Does it have to be a
consideration, adoption to-
It'd just be a motion, it'd be a motion.
That's right, because we don't have a resolution.
Do a motion roll.
Okay.
So, and it would be a motion to,
Refer the checklist to the governing body. Any comments from the environmental commission and shade tree commission?
With the changes we talked about.
I would say, pull out the environmental and shade tree. We have zero jurisdiction over those bodies.
Agreed.
yes,
We are sending this along for, with the changes we talked about tonight, so Bob will update.
Refer the
it whenever.
checklist to the governing body.
Which Bob's changes tonight.
Right,
Yeah, I'll do that.
for, for consideration.
Yes.
Right, and then they'll introduce it in first, the governing body will do first reading. And shade tree environmental, that all feeds into the rest of the
Right.
normal ordinance process. Get it now?
If they have anything.
Yeah.
so I will move that.
I'll second.
Oh, there we go.
All right.
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Mr. Semino,
Yes.
Mayor Carroll,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pissarro,
Yes.
Mr. Campion,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Dashna,
Yes.
Mrs. Weitzman,
Yes.
Ms. Swingle.
Yes.
That's it. Very good.
I just wanna, thank Bob, you did an amazing job on this. Like,
Thank you. I'm just still online.
well, I don't know, was she born yet when you presented the complaint? But seriously, you did a remarkable job on this, and it's greatly appreciated.
We're gonna frame it for you.
I can't wait till it goes into effect and you see it, where all the clauses are and how many people want waivers, so.
I should have copyrighted this.
For a new member of this board, it's wonderful.
You really.
Well, I said earlier,
I think.
Did you take the class yet? Oh.
Governing body members
Never
recess.
That's one of the great things.
It's worth it too.
It's definitely worth it.
Oh, I think it used to be worth it pre-COVID.
Oh.
When I was first took this class, it was phenomenally difficult and relying really hard, and then they really dumbed it down, I'm sorry.
I think I mentioned before, this will actually make it a lot more efficient. It'll save a lot of our time in doing these long, lengthy reports, and we'll do something that basically says, this is what the applicant filed. Maybe if we have some general comments, we'll throw it in there. And then we'll refer you to the checklist, but everything is gonna be on here, the ways that we're recommending, not recommending. We're just summarizing the letter, and you go to here to find it, put that. But we're not gonna say what we say, waive item 18. We're not gonna go into what item 18 is. You wanna know what item 18 is, we check.
The checklist helps us get to our ultimate goal of having completeness be administrative in nature, not conversational and back and forth. I mean, it was probably 10 years ago when we said, I think you had suggested, but other municipalities, the completeness is purely, you come in and you say, yes, that please deem this incomplete. And that's it, because you've already gone through all the things. Now, at least we know everything on that checklist, and it doesn't have to, we don't have to belabor, we don't have to have the application hearing before the hearing actually starts, which is, that has taken us down that slippery slope before. What do you mean by this? And, right, so I like it.
Okay,
Thanks.
good discussion. Next meeting, July.
Is July 3rd. I did not know that. It was the time of the application.
Well, because.
Third. 4 o'clock.
And Eileen, that will follow the same calling as every other, correct?
Yes, it's just a recurring.
Okay, any bills?
Well, July 9th is the next meeting after that, because I don't know if we'll discuss.
We need to pay our professionals from, Worksville.
Yes,
All right, so next meeting is July 3rd.
right, which you have executive session, contractual matter. And then the next meeting after that, our next regular meeting, not requiring this special meeting, is July 9th, We do have, two applications that came in for Siebert, the 183. That's the one that Carol also has a conflict with. However, in my conversations with it, in looking, there was no other escrow check that was submitted. They submitted, a nominal fee when he came in as,
Sorry, which one is this?
owner applicant. This is Siebert. 189.
189
Main Street.
Oh,
The non,
yeah.
Right,
I'm good.
certificate of non-conforming use. He only has another $23 in escrow. I've let them know that and I've asked for, based on some of the other applications that are similar to that, I've not received any check from that. Now, I think I can, I'm hesitant to have Bob do the review if we don't have escrow.
No.
So
I
that will
agree
just
with what it says.
delay, I don't wanna get behind that April again, so.
So I should table that one and.
I believe so. I will, I'll reach out to them.
Does the board also, does the board charge the applicant for time spent on the application and hearing also?
Yeah.
Yes.
Some boards don't do it until you have the second meeting, some do it right away.
And then we also have, Arcumans, Ironworks, we're still waiting for pending submission of their architecturals. I did talk to their attorney and he is still in conversation with his applicant. And then we also just yesterday, well, came in Monday and yesterday's not. We have the Plaza One, which is only 2 weeks, and we have a holiday in between. It's a potential use variance.
It's
Interpretation and interpretation of use.
And if we don't interpret it, then they put in for variance.
Did Secret notice or?
No, this is just completeness.
So Seabird is completeness. The metal folks we haven't heard back. We don't know where that's.
Correct, that it was deemed incomplete, so the clock is stopped on that.
And then Plaza One is
Plaza One.
interpretation or use.
Right, so I guess we follow the same completeness. I would say the 23rd though. It's an interpretation. I didn't really know.
I read it. It's essentially they want to put. It's an interpretation of whether something is a permitted use or not, and if not, they're seeking a D1 variance.
Yeah, I don't
So
wanna
without
get
getting into it
too-
too much, it's a use that we need to figure out if it is actually permitted or not. And if it's not, then they're asking for a D, which then I don't know what that means for two of you.
And then, just for looking a little bit forward, July 25th, we had talked about a joint meeting with the HPC, for the historic district. And I did receive, an email from Dennis that the HPC would have a quorum on that day. Still waiting for Kara to give me clarification on the people that need to be noticed for that meeting. Whether
The 25th.
that was potentially, yes, the 25th. 25th. 23rd, I'm sorry.
The 23rd?
It's that Tuesday. I think it's the 25th.
So did you say it'd be our regular July?
It would be our regular July 23rd meeting.
Okay.
But
But we would do a joint with HPC because of the plan element. That was the.
yes, it would be the historic element of master plan. And I'm still pending, some clarification from Kara regarding the notice for that. And then Plaza One would be possibly completeness for that 23rd. And if I get any escrow from, Cedar.
We're not counting your meeting in the night then, doesn't sound like it, or?
I didn't say that.
Especially you got a third.
Yeah, right now, being 2 weeks from there, I don't see any agenda items for the 9th, but.
That would be nice.
There's no resolutions, I guess, hanging out.
No, there's no resolution hanging out.
If one eighty-nine were to come back tomorrow morning with their escrow,
Yeah,
we're still within the window to close this or no?
I would defer to Bob on that.
Yeah, there would probably be, well, window,
Well, you've also, it would be an updated completeness.
right.
So,
I'll be away to your regular meeting in July. I have somebody covering it. If there's actually the reason for somebody to be here.
Okay,
Well, without revealing anything, Mayor, like, would there need to be action taken on the, so we do need to call that
Yes.
meeting if we,
Yes,
gotcha. That's all I'm asking.
which one?
the special,
Okay,
On
the
the
third. Okay.
yes.
No, I meant that based on that, there's not also action that might happen.
No,
Sometimes
So
those things happen.
no, just the third.
Okay, so.
So it's
get rid of
not,
the ninth.
well, no, we're not getting rid of the ninth. Until we,
no,
Yeah,
not yet.
after the third, we'll know whether.
no, after we hear from other people.
Yes,
So hang on the vote.
very good.
Anything more before the board? Any questions?
Anyway, if we're to share items, I did have one thing, just real fast, sorry. Because I missed the last meeting. Elena sent an email out about cross acceptance meeting on May 30th. Is there anything that needs to be followed up from that or no? There's something I got in my
I
box.
think that's went for our behalf,
Okay, and there's no report or anything.
not that I've seen.
Okay.
And while we're also here and my champion is on, Mike, you are on, right? The council did, under the recommendations from the parking committee, they did, approve spending money to do a new survey of the municipal parking lot with DPW garages. So if you want to engage one of the local surveyors to do that survey so that we can take a look at boundary lines and Jay Chapman, like, look at better layout. Okay. Okay, Mike, you good with that?
Yes, I am.
Thank you very much, sir.
Anything else before the board?
No, there were no bills. They came in a little late, so
Okay,
I don't know.
motion to adjourn.
Move. God, they don't say anything even over that. Come on, guys.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah. Yeah, we're ready to go.